It was a crime described as the heist of the century, an ingenious plan executed by a mastermind to crack an impregnable vault, leaving detectives baffled and out of their minds. The events of this incredible story unfolded in a French bank named Société Générale, one of France's most renowned banks, with branches all over the world. The bank, located in the city of Nice on the French Riviera, was known for housing the valuable property of countless customers. Money, jewelry, gold, and more. With one of the largest and strongest vaults in all of France, customers were confident that their treasures were secure. However, what happened on Monday, July 19, 1976, was something no one could have predicted. The day began like any other. Bank officers took their seats, ready for a typical day of transactions. Nothing seemed unusual. But when the bank's director and a few officers tried to open the vault to release funds, they encountered an unexpected problem. The main door opened normally, but the inner door refused to budge. While such issues were not unheard of, after all, the 75-year-old steel door weighed more than 20 tons, they remained calm. Yet, the growing crowd of customers outside the bank, eager to access their money, began to worry. The director quickly called the vault's manufacturer, who also handled its maintenance. A representative arrived within minutes and started working on the lock mechanism, attempting to unlock the stubborn door. After multiple attempts, the expert discovered that the lock was functioning correctly, but the door remained stuck. No signs of forced entry were visible. The situation became increasingly puzzling, and the customers outside grew more impatient, their anxiety rising. Despite the efforts of additional personnel sent by the manufacturer, no one could figure out what was wrong. It was as if the door had been locked from the inside, a seemingly impossible scenario, given that the vault had only one entrance. By noon, a decision was made to break through the side of the vault door. Finally, at around 3 p.m., a small hole was made, allowing the workers to peer inside.
The shocking revelation. Workers gathered around the thick, reinforced door of the Société Générale vault, their faces bathed in the dim, artificial light of the bank's basement. They worked diligently, the sound of metal scraping against metal filling the air as they enlarged the hole. As the opening widened, the first worker peered inside. His eyes widened, face contorted in disbelief. Slowly, he turned to his colleagues. Horror spread like wildfire among them as one by one, they glanced into the dark interior. The vault that once held unimaginable wealth was now a barren enclosure. Looted shelves and empty safe deposit boxes stared back at them. A slow zoom into the dark expanse revealed the stark emptiness where treasures once resided. Immediate response. The scene shifted briskly to the bank director's office, where the director, normally composed, now gripped the phone with a white-knuckled hand. Panic flashed in his eyes as he dialed the police, his voice shaking as he conveyed the calamity. Almost instantly, the video depicted a crescendo of action. Police cars screeched into view, their sirens piercing the morning tranquility. Officers poured into the bank, the scene a whirlwind of flashing lights and urgent footsteps. Detectives from Nice, renowned for their expertise, arrived with stern faces, ready to take charge of the chaos. The whirligig of frantic activity captured the dire urgency of the moment. The devastating aftermath. As workers continued to enlarge the hole, what unfolded beyond was nothing short of apocalyptic. The camera panned slowly over the eviscerated heart of the vault. Once meticulously organized rows now lay in disarray, emptied of cash, jewelry, and myriad valuables. The hollowed-out remains of over 4,000 safe deposit boxes painted a devastating picture of loss. The dim lighting cast long shadows, emphasizing the raw, emotional wreckage within the bank's most secure sanctum. The message on the wall. In a final, haunting tableau, the camera found its way to the ominous message inscribed on the vault wall. Without weapons, without violence, and without hate. The letters were bold, unapologetic, haunting. As the camera steadied, then gradually zoomed in on the phrase, the weight of those words pressed upon the viewers. Slowly, the screen faded to black, the chilling message lingering in the darkness like an echo, leaving the audience in stunned silence. The video's dark, dramatic lighting and somber tone complemented the narrative, heightening the gravity and shock of the bank heist. Quick pacing interspersed with moments of slow motion effectively underscored the magnitude of the crime and the frantic response that followed. The detective stood inside the empty vault, the air thick with a burning question. How did the robbers get in and out? The camera zoomed in on their furrowed brows, capturing the frustration and determination etched across their faces. It was a puzzle that gnawed at them. Transitioning, the scene followed the detectives to their shocking discovery, a hidden hole in the vault floor. With flashlights in hand, they carefully descended, revealing an intricate tunnel that led into the city's labyrinthine sewer system. The dim lighting and claustrophobic passage added to the palpable tension as they pressed forward. Next, the camera lingered on the remnants of the heist operation. 27 gas cylinders lined up methodically, ventilation equipment discarded haphazardly, and an extensive half-mile of electrical cable winding its way through the tunnel. Each tool was a silent witness to the meticulous planning that went into this crime. A flashback montage ensued, depicting the robbers in action. They moved with precision, their faces obscured by masks, as they spread blueprints and maps across a table. Images of them digging the tunnel and finally breaking into the vault were intercut with shots of them synchronizing their movements, emphasizing the enormity and coordination of their efforts. The final shot returned to the present, with detectives standing in the vault's empty space. They looked around at where millions of dollars worth of money, jewelry, and precious metals once lay. As the scene gradually faded, text appeared on screen. The biggest bank robbery in world history, a heist worthy of its headline status in international media. The video maintained a dark, suspenseful tone throughout, blending close-ups that highlighted emotional intensity with wide shots that captured the full scale of the operation. The pacing was deliberate, carefully building suspense until the final, revealing moment.
The bank offered a $250,000 reward for any information leading to the thieves' arrest. What followed was the largest investigation ever conducted in France. High-ranking detectives were brought in from across the country to interview thousands of people, including bank employees, customers, workmen, and even local residents. Evidence pointed to the involvement of a notorious gang known as the Sewer Rats, famous for using the sewer system in their crimes. After a lengthy investigation, the detectives identified suspects they believed were members of the Sewer Rats. However, they doubted that any of them had the capability to mastermind such an elaborate operation. Deciding to keep the suspects under constant surveillance, they were determined to find the true mastermind behind the heist. A breakthrough came in early October when two men under surveillance attempted to sell gold ingots at a local bank. A bank employee traced the ingots' serial numbers and discovered they matched those stolen from Société Générale. The police immediately arrested the two men, confident that they were closing in on the rest of the gang. During the interrogation, one of the men revealed the name of the mastermind, a photographer named Albert. The police quickly apprehended Albert, who was shocked by the accusations. Despite his protests of innocence, the detectives pressed on, investigating his background. Albert was known as a charming romantic man, loyal to his wife, and living a quiet life in the countryside. To the detectives, it seemed unlikely that a man like him could have orchestrated such a massive heist. Nevertheless, Albert was taken into custody and the interrogation began. Albert realized that the only viable entry point was through the city's underground sewer system. He spent weeks exploring the sewers, searching for a line that would lead directly under the bank. Eventually, he located the closest branch and identified the ideal starting point for digging a tunnel. The tunnel would need to be 30 feet long, although not a great distance, posed significant challenges as it would pass beneath one of the city's busiest avenues, where the noise of digging could easily be heard. Lacking the means and manpower to carry out the plan, Albert traveled to Marseille, where he met with leaders of several gangs, including the Sewer Rat. They were enthusiastic about the plan and agreed to provide the necessary manpower and equipment in exchange for a large share of the loot. Albert took every precaution to ensure the operation's success, placing lookouts with radios at the digging site to alert the others if police appeared. The digging itself was grueling work. The men used traditional tools to avoid detection, working in tight, hot, and poorly ventilated conditions. One day, one of the diggers collapsed from exhaustion, forcing Albert to divide the crew into teams that would work in 10-minute shifts. He even brought in a doctor to handle emergency. To improve the working conditions, they installed ventilation tubes and ran electrical cables from a nearby garage to power fans and lights. 9 weeks later, in early July, they finally reached the vault's wall. While the men celebrated, Albert remained focused, knowing that the hardest part was still ahead. They had to break through a 12-inch reinforced concrete wall, which would require jackhammers and drills. Albert feared that the noise might be detected, but when he tested the sound above the digging site, his concerns proved unfounded.
On Saturday, July 17th, the gang reconvened in a dimly lit warehouse, the flickering calendar marking the date. The strategic decision to continue the heist on a weekend was clear. An empty bank amplifies their success odds. As night settled, shadows danced around the crew. They approached the bank, each one a specter fading into the darkness, with tension gripping the air tightly. Midnight passed in a hushed whisper, and by 2 a.m., they stood before the steel vault door. Welding equipment illuminated the scene with harsh sparks, blending urgency with precision. Each weld seemed to echo, a testament to their unyielding resolve to seal the door immovably. Inside the vault, the gang members began their systematic assault on the safe deposit boxes. Close-ups revealed wealth beyond dreams, jewelry glinting with stolen light, gold bars exuding cold affluence, money in stacks of greed. Astonishment softening into greed painted their faces. Victory was theirs. The atmosphere shifted as they paused to celebrate, dining amid the very riches they sought. Golden cutlery, a relic of their haul, added a touch of ironic opulence. Warm light cast a glow on camaraderie. Triumph lingered in the air. But fate had a twist scripted. The vault's quiet was shattered by an armed courier, oblivious to the undercurrent of crime. As the last hour of their 27-hour ordeal inside the vault ticks away, the gang operates with a tireless resolve. The camera pans over piles of open safety deposit boxes, jewelry strewn across the floor, and bundles of cash hastily stuffed into bags. The robbers' faces, although exhausted, exhibit a mixture of adrenaline-fueled determination and anxious excitement. They know the magnitude of what they have accomplished. Transition to Albert, the enigmatic leader of the gang. He takes a moment to survey the chaos they have wrought. With a spray can in hand, he approaches a wall and writes in bold, defiant letters. Without weapons, without violence, and without hate. The shot emphasizes the stark contrast between the disorder in the vault and the calm, almost philosophical nature of the message. As the camera lingers on the quote, viewers can sense the significance of this declaration. At 5 a.m. on Monday, the gang prepares to make their exit. The scene is lent additional tension through tight camera angles and quick cuts as they gather their equipment. The weight of their impending departure hangs heavily in the air. They move swiftly, entering the tunnel that will take them through the sewer system. leaving the vault in an eerie, echoing silence. Cut to the aftermath, where detectives discover the now infamous quote on the vault wall. The frustration is evident in their expressions as they realize they have been outmatched. The act of theft has taken on an air of defiance with those 11 words. Albert stood confidently before the judge, under the dim lights of the courtroom. The tension was palpable as he calmly explained the intricate details of the heist, pointing at the maps laid out on the table. He traced his finger along the sewer system routes, outlining the impeccable planning that had allowed him to pull off the crime. The room fell silent, the judge's eyes narrowing in suspicion. Suddenly, without warning, Albert turned on his heel and made a daring leap out of the first-floor window. The courtroom erupted in chaos. The camera followed his fall in a slow-motion shot, capturing every detail as he landed on the roof of a car with a bone-jarring thud. The roof crumpled under his weight, accentuating the dramatic impact. Just as quickly, his accomplice, a figure in a black helmet, zoomed into view on a motorcycle. Without missing a beat, Albert sprinted and leaped onto the bike, disappearing into the labyrinth of city streets. The sound of the motorcycle's engine roared as they sped away, the cityscape blurring behind them. The scene transitioned to the eerie aftermath, showing the crumpled car roof glistening under streetlights. A close-up revealed a mysterious envelope taped to the windshield. Inside, the car owner found $600 in cash and a handwritten note from Albert apologizing for the damage. The camera lingered on the eerie scene, the surreal atmosphere emphasizing Albert's enigmatic nature. The video cut to a frenetic montage of the police investigation. Detectives hovered over maps. Phones were wiretapped. Agents conducted manhunts, and interagency collaborations yielded nothing. Each scene conveyed increasing frustration as detectives hit one dead end after another. Their faces showed the weariness and desperation, every lead fizzling out into nothingness. As the investigation dragged on, theories about Albert's fate began to flourish. One moment showed Albert living quietly in South America, blending seamlessly into his surroundings under a false identity. Next, a more sinister scenario unfolded, depicting betrayal by an accomplice, ending in Albert's untimely demise. The ambiguous and mysterious tone of these scenes kept the audience on edge, fueling speculation. The video culminated with a somber scene. A detective stared at an unsolved case file, the headline boldly reading "Legendary Heist." The colors dulled, reflecting the unending search for answers. The final fade-out left viewers with the haunting words, "Albert's fate remains an enigma, a mystery that will forever captivate the world."